Some people confuse the roles of a web developer, web designer, and a webmaster. They are not the same things. In this video, you will be learning about the difference between the three. You will be learning about the role of a web developer, the role of a web designer, the role of a webmaster. Now, the role of a web developer will be explained. A web developer builds and develops websites for companies using markup, style sheet, scripting, and programming languages. Markup languages include HTML. Style sheet languages include CSS, and scripting and programming languages include JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, Python, TypeScript, and more. Uses their creativity. Web developers use their creativity to ensure that the websites they develop are user-friendly, compatible, fast, interactive, fit for purpose, and eye-catching. Focuses on the back-end. The back-end is what users don't see on a website, and it is the programming aspect of a website that works behind the scenes to deliver information to the user. Databases are an example of a back-end process. Can be a full-stack developer and may also be involved in designing websites. A full-stack developer is a term for someone that specializes in both the design and development of a website and can create a website from start to finish. May only specialize in one field. On freelancing platforms, you may sometimes see PHP developers or JavaScript developers. These types of web developers only specialize in that specific field and can only develop web applications using that programming or scripting language. Can work for an employer or work freelance. Web developers can work for a company or an employer and will often work at one workplace. They can also work freelance, which means that they work for themselves and are self-employed. They do work on projects for companies and clients, but do not have an employer. The average salary cannot be listed here as it depends on the company and the job position. If you are working freelance, your pay will depend on how much work you get. Are always programmers. Web developers will always be involved in programming and developing web applications. Have a huge number of responsibilities. The number of responsibilities that a web developer has is huge. The responsibilities of a web developer may include writing and developing web applications using programming languages and libraries, such as JavaScript, PHP, Node.js, jQuery, TypeScript, and more. Testing websites in different web browsers and devices to ensure that they are compatible. Building and maintaining databases. Fixing any issues that have occurred with existing websites, such as syntax errors. Managing the interface and look of a website using HTML and CSS. Taking note of the requirements of individuals and companies. Deciding on the best colors and styles for a website. Communicating with clients to determine website needs and questions about the website. Ensuring the security of developed websites, e.g. ensuring that HTTPS is used with SSL or TLS for websites where users enter confidential information, and reducing the risks of SQL injection attacks. Optimizing developed websites for search engines. Delivering developed websites to clients within a specified period of time. Clients can then accept or decline their completed website. Setting up payment methods on the website. Creating backups of websites locally on computers or on file storage services. Creating and annotating design plans for a website. Communicating design ideas using website wireframes, flowcharts, mood boards, and sitemaps. Performing website updates. Identifying website errors and making improvements through user feedback. Considering the principles of web design, such as white space, navigation, alignment, accuracy, consistency, golden ratio, the rule of thirds, etc. Testing code and markup language through the W3C. Determining the best plugins to provide websites with extra features and functionality. Working with content management systems, such as WordPress and Joomla. Working with e-commerce platforms, such as WooCommerce. Now, the role of a web designer will be explained. Technically, they only manage the look and feel of websites. As suggested in the word, they do not actually develop a website. They just focus on designing it. Web designers are artistic and have skills in graphic design. They turn ideas into designs. For example, a web developer may complete the programming to develop the website. Then, the web designer may create the look of a website. Never focus on the back end. Web designers never work on or manage any back-end processes. They only focus on the front end. Are not programmers, although knowledge of programming languages would be helpful. Since they only design web pages using HTML and CSS, which are not programming languages, they do not need to know how to code. However, it would be helpful if they knew JavaScript, as it is a front-end scripting language, and knowledge of JavaScript will allow them to design with functionality into consideration. Are more creative than technical. Web designers often design logos, icons, images, and design wireframes, making them more artistic than web developers. They often use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator to design them. Can work for an employer or work freelance. Web designers often do not make as much money as web developer, since they are only capable of designing a website and do not develop the code. Also, it is much more likely that a company or individual would hire someone with both design and development skills rather than hiring a separate developer and designer to complete the job. Come in two types, UI and UX designer. UI, which stands for User Interface Designer, is a type of web designer that works on designing the user interface, which determines how they interact with the interface and the visual experience, whilst a UX designer stands for a User Experience Designer, and they focus on improving the user experience of a website, which is the overall feel a user gets when using the web application. Most web designers are both UI and UX designers. Less responsibilities than a web developer. Since they only design websites, they have much less responsibilities than a web developer. Web designers often focus on ensuring that the design of a website is accessible, usable, responsive, simple, compatible, and follows the principles of web design, including white space, golden ratio, rule of thirds, navigation, consistency, and interactivity. Finally, the roles of a webmaster will be explained. A webmaster is a person or group of people that maintain or own a certain website. For example, some websites may ask to send any feedback or questions to the webmaster. They can often be contacted by the default email address of a website, which is contact@domainname.com or webmaster@domainname.com. The end part of the email address actually contains the domain name of the website. Are responsible for one website. Unlike web developers and web designers that are responsible for working on multiple websites for several clients and companies, webmasters only focus on maintaining one website. They are responsible for responding to any questions about the website, creating and updating the content, and monitoring the search performance, such as which search terms bring up the site in the search engine results page and cause people to click. In addition, they have a responsibility to monitor the website traffic, such as how many people have visited the site, which web browser and device is most commonly used to browse the website, how long they spent on there, and more. Has a different responsibility than a web developer. Web developers build and develop websites for clients or companies and charge them per project or on an hourly basis. They usually do not maintain websites once they have finished developing them. The client or company will usually maintain the website after it has gone live, or they may employ a webmaster to maintain it for them. May also be web developers. For example, they might also develop and maintain websites at the same time. Anyone that maintains a certain website is a webmaster, even if they are not paid to maintain it. For example, if someone created an informational website and had a responsibility to maintain it, they would be the webmaster of that site, even though a company or individual does not pay them to maintain it. May be paid to take care of a website for a company or an individual. In small companies with only a few employees, there is often a single webmaster that takes care of the website and performs any website updates. In large companies, there may be a team of webmasters that have the role of maintaining the overall design of the website, monitoring the website traffic, and updating the content. The webmasters will usually work together to maintain the website. This is because high-traffic sites owned by large companies require much more maintenance as they are visited by much more people around the world, and it is important that their website functions as expected. After watching this video, the difference between a web developer, a web designer, and a webmaster should be clearer, as they do not have the same roles. You should now be able to differentiate between the three.